Okay, we're going to continue our series in CSS. This is part 2, and I apologize for my voice. I have a cold today. What I want to show you here is some basic HTML. You can see with the XML DTD stuff up here that we're doing XHTML, but anyway, this is some simple code that will result in a page that looks something like this. Griffith Web Design. I have a little menu bar here. Some of the services we offer. This is a fake business. It's not really my business. And I wanted to show you some of the ways of editing this code. The first thing I want to do is show you how to simplify this. Well, first, you see here what Griffith Web Design, and that is in the title, so that's what shows up here again on the bar. Alright. Then you get down here we have a header, H1, which is the larger header. You see how it shows up larger here. And then you go down a little bit, here's our line of businesses, services, and then you get to H2, which is the smaller of the title header lines. And you'll see we have 2 of the H2 headers in here. And of course we have a list. Alright, and so if I was to go in here and make this a little bit easier to read, this menu bar, for example, it works perfectly fine if you put things on their own line. So I prefer to do it this way because I can keep track of it a little bit better. So if I look over here, if I save this and go back and refresh, it still looks the same. And the good thing is that it makes it easier for us to look. If we wanted to add more lines, we could just simply copy and paste and change these 2 pieces of information, and our menu has new selections on it. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of color. This is pretty blah. So what I want to do here is go up to the body tag, and you remember in HTML we could just basically, if we want to do a background color, just do BG color equals and then green, for example. And if I save this and go back and refresh, you can see that it's very green. Alright, but we don't want to really do that. I mean, that's a little bit old-fashioned, and we're starting to learn CSS, which will help us to have one file control all of our pages. So anyway, inside this here, I want to put a style, and type equals text CSS, and then I'm going to have body, and it's not inside of a tag, you can see, and I'm going to put the bracket here, and that's kind of the beginning of whatever code this is. Background dash color colon, not equals, and then the pound 1 2 3 4 5 6. Alright, now what that means is it's no red, no green, and no blue, so this is going to come out as black. Alright, and I want to go over here and I want to have color, which would be the font color, and I want to have FF, FF, FF. Now what that is going to do is set that for our text being all white. Okay, and then I want to end our style tag. Alright, and I'm going to save this and go back over here and refresh. Alright, so you can see that we have the black background and the white letters, and you'll see that our link colors are a little bit different, but we'll deal with that later. Now again, as far as organizing things, this indentation stuff over here doesn't have to be there. Like I could have had color way over here, but I like to put things lined up like this just because it helps us find things. And I try to separate my stuff out. For example, my style tag here, it's okay to have that separated so that I can find it easily. Okay, but let's give it a little bit more style than this. We don't want it to just be black and white because that's not really much better than just white and black. So I want to do E6, E6, FA. Now what that will do is set our background color for a lot of red, a lot of green, and a lot of blue. And I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. 191970. Okay, so that's our... If I save that and go back over here and refresh, you see it's kind of an interesting color balance. And if we go down and we want to add more things inside of our style tag, before we end our style, which is right here, we want to put some more styles in. So for example, here's our body style, and we might want to have a H1 style. And let's see what we have here. So if we have background color and then 1970, whoops, semicolon, and then color would be E6 FA. Okay, so it's basically the opposite of this. See, we have E6 FA and 191970, and then we have 191970. So basically what that will do, whoops, let me go ahead and end this tag first, or this style, just like that. Save that and refresh, and you'll see that now I have an inverted type of looking picture thing here. That's a good words. Let's see, now I want to do an H2 style. And background color, I think I'm going to do, let's see, AEAED4 and a semicolon. That just means we're continuing. And then color is pound, where's my, whoops, that's not a pound, 191970. Semicolon, and then we'll end this style. Alright, and so if I save this and refresh, we have this, you know, kind of nice monochrome color scheme going on. And we'll look back here, and the reason that these changed, even though I didn't set any colors at all down here, is anything that has the H1 tag, the header 1 is going to have these attributes. Anything with the H2 tag is going to have these attributes. Everything else will have these. Alright, so if, for example, instead of H2, I made this "we're ready to serve you" an H1 tag, and I'll change this back in a second, I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and you can see that it changed that code there, even though we didn't change anything about the color down here. Alright, so in the old days, you know, in the 90s or something, we used to have to change every bit of line of code here. So you'd have to change the color here, and the color here, and the color here. And now with this style sheet, we're able to change a bunch of stuff within the document and keep everything consistent. Okay, and what I'll try to do is some sort of tutorial on color. For example, this is nice colors that go together. Sometimes people will have just absolutely god-awful colors, and you have to think about accessibility too, because sometimes people will have things like, you know, orange on a gray font, or a red with a green background or something, and it looks unusual, but for people who are colorblind, they can't see anything at all. Okay, the next thing to talk about here, we haven't specified any font information. So if we look over here and you see this text, you see these little, you know, kind of pokey things on the end of the letters. Those are serifs. So for example, if you saw something that was an Arial font, such as up here, there's no little dashes at the end of the letters, there's no serifs. That is called sans, which means without serif. Alright, so these right here are serif. So if we go back into our code here, and we want to change some font, for example, the regular body text, we might want to go over here and do font, family, Arial, Verdana, sans serif. Okay, so what this basically does is it tells the browser that it's going to be displaying fonts in Arial instead of the regular default browser font. So I'm going to go back over here and refresh. Now you can see that our font is now sans serif. It's without the serifs. Okay. Okay, so if we look over here, again, if the computer did not have Arial, it would display the next thing down the line, which in this case is Verdana. And if it didn't have the Verdana font, it would look for the next sans serif font. And again, if it didn't have that, then it would use the default typeface, font face. Okay, now let's add some interest here and put some font family stuff. Font family, let's do Georgia Times New Roman Serif. Okay, let's just see if that does anything. We can refresh. And you can see that our title here, if we look back at our title, what I just added here, I changed the H1 tag. So I added the serif look to my H1 tags. Alright, but you can also do other things here, such as change your line height to 200%. And let me save, refresh. And so you can see that this is now twice as large as it was, even though the text is the same size. That's useful if you want to add space. This basically makes it look double spaced. Alright, so let's go back here and let's add some interest to our H2 tag. For example, font family, Georgia Times New Roman, and then serif, save, and refresh. Okay, so you can see that it's getting a little bit more unusual. Okay, I want to add one more piece here, and that is still inside the style tag, but this is a new style, and that would be paragraph, and then, and again, the spacing is optional, but I like being able to separate it. Font size, let's do 0.90. So we're going to make our font, and then we'll do emphasis. We'll do our font a little bit different, and then UL, I really should go up here and make this a small p. Anyway, my UL, which is unordered list, I can set my properties on my unordered list as well. So for example, font weight, bold, and I'm going to save this now. And anything down here that has a P, right here for example, should be a smaller font, and anything that's in an unordered list inside here should be bold. So I'm going to go back and hit refresh. Okay, these are bold, and these are slightly smaller. Alright, let me go back here. Now if you don't like specifying each piece of information on the separate line, you can go down and do things like P, line item, and then do font size 1, emphasis, and then end. And what that'll do is anything that's P or LI will have these kind of attributes. So if I was to save and refresh, you see it looks a little bit different. Okay, but I don't really want that line there, so I'm going to take that line back out. And now that I'm kind of done with that section of code, I can kind of tighten things up a little bit. Alright, so for example, I might want my whole style piece to be all together with no spaces. Again, it's a personal choice. I find it easier to find things this way. And sometimes you can even, bring your second bracket out as well to keep it separate from your tags. And I'm kind of one of those dorks that likes to have everything lined up, so you'll notice me going back and correcting things. So I'm going to go back here, refresh, and you see that things are back to where they should be, even though I've moved things around here. So if I ever want to go back in now and change what my H1 tag is, I just have to look inside my style tag, find body, H1, H2, paragraph, unordered list, and make changes to it. Alright, so it's pretty easy to get started with that, and hope that helps. Thanks a lot.